China's beauty industry never ceases to disturb me. Tell me why in China's unhinged world of looks maxing, I'm greeted by half-naked male dancers, women who look like they've just finished an overnight shift at the gulag, and wait for it, grown adults pretending to be children.
What?
Sorry, let me rephrase. Pretending to be toddlers in China's latest and greatest trend of adult pacifiers. So you're telling me we had to tolerate her for the past few years, and now we have to deal with this?
Bruh.
Chinese social media never fails to make me question my entire existence.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Across social media platforms like Douyin and Xiaohongshu, adult pacifiers has become the latest and greatest obsession for Chinese netizens. We are barely 3 months into the year, and China has already stepped up to the podium to compete for this year's most unhinged trend.
My time has come.
But no, surely it can't be that bad, right?
奶嘴取完了，取回来了。我塞你嘴里头的这把哦，你等吧。
Influencers on Douyin are now marketing these pacifiers as sleeping aids, stress relief, and emotional support pets?
What?
Look, if you're a grown adult and your mental well-being depends on the use of a pacifier, you need to drag yourself to the closest therapist and talk through your childhood trauma. And the thing is, it's not just women joining this trend.
It's all about spreading the love.
I would place good money that somewhere out there is grown men with decades of unresolved mummy issues unironically purchasing these pacifiers for personal use. Oh wait, there is.
No. Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
The sudden spike in the popularity of adult pacifiers is a byproduct of the growth in the infant core aesthetic.
Bruh.
This is where grown women intentionally style themselves to look and act like children in an effort to sell the image of fragility and helplessness to the plethora of creepy men online. We're talking wide-eyed filters, children's bedrooms, and, bear with me, ASMR baby talk live streams.
Stop it. Get some help.
It's almost as if a grown adult woman has just escaped daycare. The growth of adult pacifiers has become so popular that marketplaces such as Temu and Taobao now stock hundreds of different variations so that you can really customize your very own infant core starter pack. I would not be surprised if a Temu warehouse worker somewhere out there is thinking to themselves, why the f do we have 10,000 orders of pacifiers every single day? The most basic pacifier model starts at 30 RMB, but if you want that goo goo gaga luxury nipple experience, you might need to break the bank and fork up to 50 RMB for the creme de la crop model of adult pacifiers.
A small price to pay for salvation.
We're talking the premium Rolls-Royce infant experience. The trend has gotten so bad that we now have a thriving secondary market for used pacifiers.
Stop the cap.
Nope, I'm dead serious. Ignoring the clear lack of hygiene standards for a second, how has Chinese society become so cooked that we're now trading used pacifiers as if they were Pokemon cards? Like, imagine you're about to go on a date with a guy, you pull up to his crib, and instead of showing you his Pokemon card collection, he whips out an entire cabinet of used pacifiers. In a world of foot fetishes and selling used underwear, this might just take the crown.
I said, God help me.
While some netizens see adult pacifiers as a running joke and take the mickey out of it,
What the hell?
there is a darker side of this trend, with some influencers and idols promoting the infant-like aesthetic onto their social media platforms. Netizens are now starting to willingly pay thousands of dollars for group stream idols to perform songs while wearing pacifiers and acting all cutesy and innocent.
来哦，家人们，当前 C 位是我们的旺仔，想看我们其他主播都可以送我们墨镜礼物。
What the f am I doing with my life? And while many argue that the use of adult pacifiers is used to improve their oral anxiety, pause for a second, what the f is oral anxiety? The fear or nervousness associated with speaking in front of others. Oh, I was thinking of something else.
What do you mean by that?
Oral anxiety aside, the uncomfortable truth that I want to accentuate is that the infantilization of content is often curated to the appeal of rich older men surrounding the notions of innocence and youth. Where else have we seen this sort of behavior before? That makes sense. And while this underage youth aesthetic has been popularized by Chinese social media, the West is inherently no different, and this sort of f***ed up behavior happens at the highest levels of government. But the only difference is that they do a much better job at hiding it. I mean, if you want some evidence, just take a look at this clip of former US President Bill Clinton reminiscing over his old photos during his Epstein deposition.
Mr. President, we have...
The bloke could not make it any more obvious even if he wanted to.
No.
Mr. President, we have...
The least you can do in that situation is pretend. But you're not even able to do that.
President, we have...
Look, Bill Clinton aside, what I am trying to accentuate is that China and frankly the rest of East Asia have created an ecosystem where we have monetized the f***ed up desires of creepy old men and women into a commercialized model encouraging grown adults to act and speak like children. Now, to be fair, I do understand and appreciate that many people will use oral stimulation devices as a coping mechanisms for their conditions such as ADHD. If you look at the research, many people can't stop chewing gum and biting on their nails all the time, and shit, I'm guilty as charged. But the problem begins when people use these genuine reasons as a coping mechanism to mask their up inherent desires to glorify the underage infant look. Like, come on, you cannot convince me that these women are using adult pacifiers to deal with their oral anxiety. When I watch these clips, half the time I am thinking to myself, how the f did we get here?
What the f am I f***ing doing?
To put things into context, 10 years ago, the biggest drama on the internet was Kanye West interrupting Taylor Swift at an awards show.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
10 years later, I am sitting in my own bedroom, debating with the internet on the moral ambiguities of grown adults using pacifiers. Oh, how far we've come. There's another nuance to this commercialized infant-like ecosystem that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's the green. No, not that green. This green. Because if sucking on pacifiers and acting like children was just a dumb internet joke, it would have died out within a week. Trends only survive when there is financial incentive, and in China's live streaming economy, there absolutely is.
Here we go.
Influencers on Douyin and Xiaohongshu receive virtual gifts during live streams where viewers can send digital items that convert into real money.
不是要先好了吗？我们也不好吧。
For influencers, the formula is very simple. The more attention you attract, the more gifts you receive.
I am once again asking for
for your financial support.
And I want you to take a wild guess what sort of viewers spend the most amount of money on f***ed up shit like this. Older men with disposable income.
I think I've seen this film before.
It's the kind of guys who sit in live stream chats at 2 AM sending digital roses to influencers they'll never meet. Pokimane T3 subs? Yes, I'm talking about you. When a certain aesthetic attracts a questionable audience, creators quickly notice this because these are the exact same sort of people that are willing to drop their entire paycheck just for a chance at a foot pic.
Hey, Kenan, how was school today?
And once these influencers notice that these trends will catch on with these questionable audiences, they'll often lean into it. This is why you'll see many young streamers within China performing with exaggerated innocence, soft voices, childlike behavior, and overly submissive mannerisms.
What?
You might as well have just graduated kindergarten at this point.
No.
It creates the illusion of fragility and innocence. And for some viewers, this illusion is exactly the appeal. Now, all of this being said, I do want to accentuate that not all influencers joining this trend are consciously thinking about all of these issues.
I don't think, baby, I don't think. What is that? That's ghetto, I don't think.
A lot of influencers are just copying what's popular, and while a lot of these trends are unique to China, it's not like the West has been peddling a similar sense of nonsense for years on end.
Sorry, I don't talk in a uwu voice. I don't know what you expected me to do.
You've got e-girls performing hyper-cute anime aesthetics, OnlyFans roleplay categories, and don't even get me started on smut forums. That shit is a spiraling dragon den of who knows what.
God have mercy upon us.
The key difference, however, is that Western culture tends to mask these controversial trends behind paywalls, encrypted platforms, and the deep web, whereas China speedruns the slop straight into our FYP.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
However, what's important to understand is that the underlying psychology is exactly the same. Both Chinese and Western social media rewards extreme identities because normal people don't go viral and normal people don't get clipped and reposted as memes.
I am become meme.
What?
Social media loves to reward extremes, and at some point, someone is going to be sitting in a giant crib sponsored by Temu, sucking on their pacifier and meowing for their audience. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised anymore. The bar is at rock bottom because if you feel like you need to put a pacifier in your mouth for content, you might just want to rethink your life choices.